what is a canned cycle? Well, a canned cycle is a series of commands that we use to speed up the programming process. So things like drilling holes and tapping holes and peck drilling and things like that, we can use a cycle which speeds up the programming of this process. So it's a programming aid, and it's used if we're programming on the machine to just speed up the whole process of uh, of programming things such as drilling holes, and it also makes it quicker when you come to edit the program. So the best way to demonstrate this is to actually show it in action. So I'm going to use two basic G codes. The two basic G codes are G0, sometimes known as G00. Some people call it GOO or GO, which is not technically correct, but you will hear that said. This is a rapid move. It means that the machine is going to move absolutely flat out. So the motors just kick in at their maximum speed that they can go at, and the tool will arrive at its position in the quickest possible time. So all the axes that have been commanded with this G0 command will move quickly. And then the other one I'm going to use is called a G1, sometimes known as G01, G01, or G1 as you'll always hear me refer to it as. This is a feed, and it means feed in a straight line. So the axes that you command will feed at a feed rate. So if I gave it a feed rate of 300 millimeters a minute, it will feed to this position at 300 millimeters a minute. So it's feeding at a commanded feed rate. So I'm telling it how fast to go. And I'm going to use those two simple G-code commands to drill myself 4 holes. So this is my check screen that I've got in front of me, and you can see the program. We can see the position where it says absolute, and we can see our distance to go. So I'm going to start running through this. I'm in single block, which means I'm just going to read one block of code at a time. So we use single block when we want to restrict the machine, and what single block does is the machine, once we switch this on, it's a button or a switch that actually puts it on, and it means that each time we press the cycle start button to tell the machine to go, it just reads that piece of program, that block, to the end of block, and then waits again for us to press the program. So it's a way of just holding the machine back, and it's breaking the program down. Right, so you can see my datum, which is X0, Y0. It's the center of the component. And this blue line going up is the Z axis, the green is the Y, and the red is the X, and they point in the positive direction. So I'm going to run this program now, and it's a longhand program. So it's drilling, doing everything that's required for this component. I'm just going to turn this off out the way for now. So I'm picking up my tool. You can see the tool in the spindle there. So I'm picking up my tool. You can see the tool in the spindle there. And I'm rapid in to this first position, which is XOYO, which will take me to the center of the component. I'm bringing down the tool, and I'm turning on the spindle, and I'm turning on the coolant. And if you look at the position, I'm actually sat at Z3. And I'm rapid in now to Z1, a bit closer to this component. And then I'm saying G1, which is feed to -40. So I'm going to feed through this component, speed it up a bit just so it won't. And then it says rapid to Z5. So it's rapid up to Z5. And then it's giving it another position. It's still in rapid. We don't need to restate that. Rapid to the next position. And then rapid down just clear of the job to 1 mil. Feed to -40 again. Rapid back out again. Next position. Rapid down in Z. Feed in Z. I'm not restating the feed. I don't need to because it stays in the control. Now I'm rapid into 5. I've rapid above the job. Cross to my next hole. Rapid to Z1 again. Feed down G1 to Z -40. Rapid out again to my next position, X1 -130, rapid to 1, feed through again, rapid out to 5, now tell it to go back home, and move back in Y. So I've drilled 5 holes, not a massive lot of programming, but quite repetitive. And if I needed to change something, for example, the depth of that hole, which is 40 mil, it's actually in 5 times. So I'd have to go through that program, find each one of those Z minus 40s, and then change it. And so anything I alter, I'm going to have to change effectively for every hole. And the same with anything really about this hole. Each one is a separate entity that I'm programming longhand. So it's quite long-winded. So I've got the same component now, but this time I am going to use what we call a canned cycle. And what that means is that this cycle is going to contain all the information that I need to drill these holes. So I'm going to just get on with this. I'm not going to talk too much about it until we actually start doing it. So nothing's changed. The program looks identical for the beginning. So I've got all the usual stuff. Pick up my tool change, rapid to a position, XO, YO, and then bring the tool down, start my spindle the same and turn on my coolant. Now, this is my canned cycle. And what this cycle says, the G81 means drill me a hole. We'll talk about the G98 later. And the Z is the depth. So I'm saying drill me a hole 40 millimeters deep and rapid this R point to 1 millimeter above the job. So you can see it's sitting at Z3 at the moment. I'm going to rapid to 1 and I'm going to use a feed rate of 300 millimeters a minute. So this will break down as I single block it. It'll break it down into the rapid point, the feed down to the bottom and the rapid back out. So it will do it in several moves. So the first thing it's going to do is rapid to 1, then feed down to minus 40, and then it will rapid back out to that initial Z3 that I sent it to. And then what this cycle does, this is the clever bit, is that this cycle is in the machine now. The machine knows about it. So it knows it's got to drill holes 40 millimeters deep at that feed rate. And all I need to do now is give it a position. And every time I give it a position, it will just do me another hole. So I can do this forever. But the great thing is I know all about these holes now because I've just done one. So all I've got to do is be careful that in this position I can actually drill this hole. So I'm now moving to a position of X minus 130 and Y minus 130 there. And I'm going to drill another hole, but I'm not telling it now. It knows that this hole is 40 mil deep, knows it's got to rapid back out again. Then I've got another position, another hole, dead easy. So all I've done is just give it this set of information, and each time I give it a position, don't put a G00 in here to rapid it to this position. You don't need any of that, and if you did, it would cancel the cycle. So all you need is this position. Again, drill me another hole, and then I've got this G80, which means I don't want to drill any more holes. I'm fed up now, so just cancel that cycle. And if I was to give it another position, it wouldn't try and drill a hole. It knows that I've stopped drilling holes. And that's it. It's as simple as that. So let's just have a look at that cycle again. So I'm in the edit mode now, and I'm just going to go back up to this cycle, and I'm going to have a look at changing something. For example, if I wanted to take this only to say minus 10, alter, what that would do now is all my holes would be 10 millimeters deep. But it gets even cleverer. They don't all have to be the same depth. If I wanted to, I could put this one in as minus 30. Right. And then, but all subsequent holes, so all the holes after this would be at 30. So I'm going to do the first one at 10. The second one will be at 10 because that's what I've set it to. Then 30. Then this one would be 30. And then if I wanted to, I could put on this one minus 10. And that will do that to minus 10. So I've got these 4 holes now at all different depths. So if I now run this program again, you'll see what happens now. Comes to my first hole, and it drills to minus 10, and then it comes out. And my next hole is going to be the same because I didn't change the Z. So it'll go to -10, comes out. My next hole, I've told it to go to -30, so it'll go to -30. I'm not doing anything in terms of like Z, it's just that I'm changing the parameters to this cycle. This cycle's picking up. It knows it's still in a cycle, and it knows it's got to change the depth of that cycle. So this hole now will be -30. And then my next hole, I've changed it again back to -10. So you can see the flexibility of this, and you can see how I can quickly change things, and it really simplifies this hole. So that's how we use a canned cycle, and that's how we would drill some holes and then modify something within that hole.